Humility is no substitute for a good personality. You're only as good as your last haircut. In real life, I assure you, there is no such thing as algebra. The opposite of talking isn't listening. The opposite of talking is waiting. Life is something to do when you can't get to sleep. Romantic love is mental illness, but it's a pleasurable one. It's a drug. It distorts reality, and that's the point of it. It would be impossible to fall in love with someone that you really saw. Great people talk about ideas, average people talk about things, and small people talk about wine. There is no such thing as inner peace. There is only nervousness or death. Any attempt to prove otherwise constitutes unacceptable behavior. In the Soviet Union, capitalism triumphed over communism. In this country, capitalism triumphed over democracy. Very few people possess true artistic ability. It is therefore both unseemly and unproductive to irritate the situation by making an effort. If you have a burning, restless urge to write or paint, simply eat something sweet and the feeling will pass. Food is an important part of a balanced diet. Polite conversation is rarely either. To put it rather bluntly, I am not the type who wants to go back to the land. I am the type who wants to go back to the hotel. As a teenager, you are at the last stage in your life when you will be happy to hear that the phone is for you. I've done the calculation and your chances of winning the lottery are identical whether you play or not. Nature is by and large to be found out of doors, a location where, it cannot be argued, there are never enough comfortable chairs. Contrary to popular opinion, the hustle is not a new dance step, it is an old business procedure. Success didn't spoil me, I've always been insufferable. When you leave New York, you are astonished at how clean the rest of the world is. Clean is not enough. Stand firm in your refusal to remain conscious during algebra. In real life, I assure you, there is no such thing as algebra. Remember that as a teenager you are in the last stage of your life when you will be happy to hear the phone is for you. Andy Warhol made fame more famous. Your life story would not make a good book, don't even try. Vegetables are interesting but lack a sense of purpose when unaccompanied by a good cut of meat. My favorite animal is steak. I figure you have the same chance of winning the lottery whether you play or not. Nothing succeeds like a dress. If you are a dog and your owner suggests that you wear a sweater, suggest that he wear a tail. No animal should ever jump up on the dining room furniture unless absolutely certain that he can hold his own in the conversation. All God's children are not beautiful. Most of God's children are, in fact, barely presentable. Even when freshly washed and relieved of all obvious confections, children tend to be sticky. Original thought is like original sin, both happened before you were born to people you could not have possibly met. The telephone is a good way to talk to people without having to offer them a drink. I place a high moral value on the way people behave. I find it repellent to have a lot, and to behave with anything other than courtesy in the old sense of the word, politeness of the heart, a gentleness of the spirit. Don't bother discussing sex with small children, they rarely have anything to add. You can't go around hoping that most people have sterling moral characters. The most you can hope for is that people will pretend that they do. Children are the most desirable opponents at Scrabble as they are both easy to beat and fun to cheat. Being a woman is of special interest only to aspiring male transsexuals. To actual women, it is simply a good excuse not to play football. I must take issue with the term, a mere child, for it has been my invariable experience that the company of a mere child is infinitely preferable to that of a mere adult. If you are of the opinion that the contemplation of suicide is sufficient evidence of a poetic nature, do not forget that actions speak louder than words. Never relinquish clothing to a hotel valet without first specifically telling him that you want it back. If you're going to America, bring your own food. Ask your child what he wants for dinner only if he's buying. My desire to curtail undue freedom of speech extends only to such public areas as restaurants, airports, streets, hotel lobbies, parks, and department stores. Verbal exchanges between consenting adults in private are as of little interest to me as they probably are to them. The conversational overachiever is someone whose grasp exceeds his reach. This is possible but not attractive. I never met anyone who didn't have a very smart child. What happens to these children, you wonder, when they reach adulthood? Calling a taxi in Texas is like calling a rabbi in Iraq. Having been unpopular in high school is not just cause for book publications. Radio news is bearable. This is due to the fact that while the news is being broadcast, the disc jockey is not allowed to talk. I never took hallucinogenic drugs because I never wanted my consciousness expanded one unnecessary iota. Visit our website for more quotes, quoting.com.